The ACA made it illegal for insurance companies to deny coverage for pre-existing conditions, let young people stay on their parents' plans until age 26, and expanded Medicaid for millions of low-income Americans. Because of the ACA, more people got coverage, medical bankruptcies dropped, and access to preventative care increased.
In the years since its passage, the ACA has cut in half the number of uninsured, strengthened coverage, and improved access to comprehensive health care access for millions of Americans, including nearly 400,000 Virginians in 2025 alone. And some of these Americans never had health insurance before in their lives. We need to continue to build on these successes. Yet the Trump administration is hell-bent on destroying the ACA, leaving millions without coverage.
Protect the insurance companies or stand up for people who are underinsured, like Elise Perez Alford, who will soon have only the emergency room to care for her seriously ill 2-year-old daughter because she can no longer afford the co-payments. The time has come for us to stand up for the American people and to hold the insurance companies accountable.
I listened to Mike. Mike is a friend of mine. I have respect for Mike, but what he did was dodge your question. I'm not a lawyer, but I can read the first paragraph of the Aliens Enemy Act, which says very clearly that the authority that this administration claims is dependent on a declaration of war, not on acting as a proxy. So Mike distorted the law.
As we began to uncover this, we worked to get access to suspicious activity reports. They're called SARs. It's a file that banks have to file with the Department of the Treasury if they suspect there might be illicit or illegal behavior. The Department of Treasury stonewalled us in our ability to review those SARs reports. The good news is we now have President Trump in the White House. We have Secretary Bessent at the Treasury Department who's willing to work with us to give us access to review these reports.
Newsom out in California with one of the podcast guys, Charlie Kirk, had interviewed him, and he asked him about the women and I mean men and women's sports, and Newsom said, "Well, I don't want my daughter playing with men, but I still have to vote that way." What's the tie? I don't understand the loyalty to having to vote that way, what that's all about.
Today marks the 15th anniversary of the passage of the Affordable Care Act. As we celebrate it, I wanted to look back at some of the photos and tell some of the story of what happened that eventful day. We started our procession to the floor of the House. There were many people there screaming and yelling at us in a very hateful way, who were opposed to the Affordable Care Act. They even spat on John Lewis. John said it was one of the worst days since his march on Selma so many years before. On the day we passed the bill in the House, he called me that night and said, "I'm happier than I was the day I was elected President of the United States." I said, "Well, Mr. President, if you were not elected President of the United States, we would not have the legislation." So let's say that was a very happy day for our country.
And we're here today to unveil this exhibit that tells the history of the Downlanders here in Tularosa. And tell us a little bit about this exhibit and its importance for the communities here.
So, anytime that we have a space like this in a museum where people stop and look at the history of the area and they decide to feature an exhibit of this magnitude as part of their other exhibits, it's a great opportunity for us. The people in this community have suffered a great deal. They actually are 35 miles from the Trinity School, and so they've had a lot of suffering in this community, and this acknowledges that suffering. This will be the 80th year since Trinity. And so for them to unveil this year, the 80th year, and for it to be so prominent and very well done is, number one, a tribute to the people in this community and what they find important.
Wow, what the president say to you? He said he's very proud of me. That's like Commander-in-Chief. I'm very proud of that. He came here to support his troops. I put on a show for him. I won him that national title.